The invisible gift. Some stories are written in books, and some stories are written in the quiet corners of our hearts. This is the story of a young boy named Ethan. He lived among many people, but still felt invisible. He had no fancy clothes, no new toys, and not many friends. But one day, something started to change. An invisible gift began to appear, quietly, without any name. Was it magic? Or just a small act of kindness? Let's hear the story of the invisible gift. Ethan was 10 years old. He lived in a small, quiet town with his mother. His father had passed away when he was just a baby. He didn't remember his father at all. The only thing he had was an old photo of him, smiling in a blue shirt. Ethan's mother worked in a nearby bakery. She woke up before sunrise and baked bread all morning. She came home after sunset, tired from her long day. She worked very hard, but they still didn't have much money. They had enough food, but could not afford new clothes, toys, or even proper school supplies. Ethan never asked for anything. He knew his mother was doing her best. Ethan went to school every day wearing the same shirt and trousers. They were always clean, but old and faded. His school bag was torn and stitched many times. His shoes had holes, and on rainy days he sometimes walked without shoes. But he never complained. He liked going to school, even if no one talked to him much. He loved reading and learning new things. He always sat on the last bench, not by choice, but because no one made space for him in the front rows. Most of the time, he was ignored. During lunch, other children sat in groups. They laughed, talked, and shared their food. Ethan sat alone and quietly ate his lunch, usually just bread or rice. Sometimes, the other students looked at him and whispered. One boy once said, "Why does he always wear the same clothes?" A girl laughed and said, "Maybe he doesn't have any others." Ethan heard them, but said nothing. He just kept eating, pretending not to hear. He had learned how to stay silent and invisible. One Monday morning, Ethan saw something new on his desk. It was a notebook, clean and new, with a bright blue cover. On the first page, someone had written in neat handwriting, "For Ethan. Keep learning." He looked around, but no one was looking at him. The teacher didn't mention anything. Ethan carefully picked up the notebook. It felt like a treasure. Someone had noticed him. Someone had given him a gift. The next day, there was a pencil case on his desk. Inside were 3 sharp pencils, a new eraser, and a small sharpener. The day after that, he found a box of crayons. Then came a lunchbox with a sandwich and fruit. One rainy morning, he found a folded raincoat on his chair. Every day, something thoughtful appeared. There was no name, no note, no one watching. But these little gifts filled Ethan's heart with happiness. For the first time in his life, he felt that someone cared for him. The small gifts changed something inside Ethan. He started raising his hand in class. He answered questions confidently. His teacher, Miss Clara, noticed the change. She smiled at him and said, "Good job, Ethan," after he answered a science question correctly. It was the first time he was praised in front of the whole class. Other students also began to notice him. One girl, Mia, sat near him and asked, can you help me with this math question?" Ethan smiled and said yes. No one had ever asked for his help before. He made his first friend, a quiet boy named Leo who liked drawing. During lunch, Leo shared his crayons with Ethan. Ethan let Leo read his storybook. They talked about animals, cartoons, and their dreams. Ethan smiled more. He felt lighter. He was happy. He started enjoying school, not just for the books, but for the people too. Weeks passed. The gifts kept coming. One day it was a storybook. Another day it was a pair of warm socks. Still, Ethan didn't know who was behind the gifts. Once, he stayed after class to find out, but no one came. He never found out. And that made it even more special. These were not just gifts of things, they were gifts of kindness. They told him that he was seen, that he mattered. Years passed. Ethan finished school with good marks. He went to college to study literature. He loved reading and writing. He also started helping younger students with their studies. He became a tutor, teaching children English. He always remembered his childhood, the hard times and the invisible gifts. Those small acts of kindness had changed his life. After college, Ethan returned to his hometown. He applied for a job at his old school, not as a student, but as a teacher. He stood in the same classroom where he had once sat quietly in the last row. He remembered the broken window and how the morning light used to shine through it. As a teacher, Ethan paid close attention to all his students. He looked for the quiet ones, the shy ones, and those who sat alone. He understood their feelings. He saw himself in them. When he noticed a student who seemed lonely or afraid, he quietly left a notebook, a pencil, or a small lunchbox on their desk. He never told them it was from him. He didn't want thanks. He just wanted them to feel what he had once felt, seen, valued, and cared for. One rainy afternoon, Ethan was cleaning his desk when he found a letter. It was in a plain white envelope with his name on it, to Mr. Ethan. He opened it slowly. Inside, the letter read, "Dear Mr. Ethan, you don't know me, but I know you. 10 years ago, you were my brother's teacher. His name is Sam. He was shy and lonely. But one day, he came home with a notebook and said, 'Someone believes in me.' He started smiling. He made friends. Today, he is in college. Thank you for your kindness. Your invisible gifts helped him more than you can imagine." A grateful sister. Ethan folded the letter and placed it back in the drawer. He sat quietly, thinking about how life moves in circles. One kind act leads to another. Just like someone had once helped him in silence, he had done the same for others. The chain of kindness continued. That evening, while walking home, Ethan saw a boy standing at a street corner. The boy looked cold and tired. His clothes were too big, and his sandals were broken. Ethan went to a small shop, bought a warm cap and a bun, and gave them to the boy. "Here, you look like you need this," he said softly. The boy looked at him with wide eyes and slowly took the gift. He didn't say anything, but his eyes were full of emotion. Ethan smiled and walked away. Sometimes we don't need to be heroes. We don't need to be famous. We just need to be kind. Even a small gift can make someone feel special. Even a quiet gesture can speak loudly in someone's heart. Ethan never found out who gave him his first gifts, but their kindness stayed with him forever. And now he had become someone else's invisible gift. The story ends, but the echo of that invisible gift lives on. An unnamed kindness changed a little boy's world, and that boy became someone else's light. We don't need applause. We don't need our names remembered. All we need is kindness, attention, and the heart to see those who go unnoticed. So next time you see someone sitting quietly, someone who looks lost or tired, maybe you can become their invisible gift. Because the greatest gifts don't come in boxes. They come in moments.